It's just great to be here with you today. I visited Disneyland North yesterday. Washington, D.C., some call it. Boy, am I glad to be back in Ohio, is all I can tell you. Listen, the first appointment that I made was the director of the Department of Agriculture, and I think I made a good one. Jim Zeringer, I hope you like that appointment. He's right here with me. I went down to Jim's community. We're trying to announce all the appointments where people live, and it's really fun, and people are excited, and it was just great to be in small town Ohio, and we did it right on the edge, by the way, of Grand Lake St. Mary's. And as you know, Jim, I hope you all know who he is. He's a retired, I don't know, you can retire as a farmer? I don't think that's possible. So he's a farmer, businessman, entrepreneur, and he just represents common sense. And frankly, if there's anything that we need returned to our government, and if there's anything that we need returned to our country, it's a little bit of common sense, or maybe a whole lot of common sense. And I guess in case you wonder about that, just go to an airport and see what you think about how common sense is not the order of the day. So Jim is going to be the guy, and you're going to be part of the team. My style is not to micromanage. First of all, my instinct is to try to micromanage, but that's not going to serve me very well. I need to make sure that I appoint people who have character, people who understand personal responsibility, people that understand the mission, and let them go do their job, and then hold them accountable if the job is not being done. And I was so excited that Jim said yes. He didn't want to say yes. He wanted to say no. He was a member of the Ohio House, and he was doing great, working on a lot of important issues. And I think to a degree, he's like, well, I don't know if I want to do this job. But I call him every day, and he says, I really like the job. So I guess he's doing fine. And when I talk about the fact that it is really important that we all become one team, agriculture is our most important industry, isn't it? I mean, I'm here to tell you that. This is not just empty rhetoric out of me. I've been to many of your counties, and I said during the campaign how important I thought that agriculture was in terms of an integral part of our economy, but let's face facts, an integral part of our culture. I mean, the reason why I love farmers is because there's no excuse. I mean, I know you never have a good year. That I understand. I've come to understand that over the last couple of decades. But look, you get up in the morning, you work hard, you work on the land, you put the time in, you stay together as a family, you understand personal responsibility. It's just a culture that is so important, not just to the state of Ohio, but it's an important part of the culture for our country. And in the last 10 years, it's true. You know, in the last 10 years, I've had an opportunity to travel all over the country and speak to various farm groups. And to me, it's sort of like falling off a log. It's not very hard to talk to farm groups and farmers themselves, because I do respect and admire what you do. And I never respected and admired or feared more than what you do when I was asked to put up pay a couple of times by my farmer friend. That's why I'm always out of town when putting up pay time comes around. Anyway, it's just really important that we communicate the message of agriculture in our schools. And if any of you want to volunteer to become part of a group that Jim Zeringer may want to direct to some of our K through 12 schools, to do two things. To tell our young people that agriculture's cool. You know, it's not like your old man's farming business, is it anymore? It's technology. It's GPS. It's advanced products. We need to tell our kids that, you know, the food that shows up in the store is not something that comes from the store. It comes from a farmer. And part of your concern over the last couple of years in terms of outside groups that decide they want to come in here and try to tell people what you do as farmers, we need to do the reverse education process, don't we? We need to let people in our schools know what farmers do, and we can't do it alone. So if Jack, you want to organize a group of people, sort of a group that can go out there and go throughout the state and tell our kids and take some time in the classroom to tell our children about what farmers do, I think it's a 10 strike. And I think we ought to get about doing it, and we want to make you part of that team. Jim's job is going to be 4 or 5 things. First of all, regulatory. I am absolutely convinced that we have clogged up the state of Ohio with too much regulation. You know, I was in a meeting with a bunch of governors a couple weeks ago. I saw him again yesterday, and I was with the governor of Tennessee, and the governor of Tennessee said, well, we don't have any regulations, we have no income tax, and we're a right-to-work state. So send all your jobs down to us. Pretty tough to compete against that, isn't it? You know, they're 7'1" and we're 5'5". Pretty tough to score a basket. It means we have to be quick and smart and take down the barriers that we have in our way. So first of all, regulatory. We need to make sure that those things that get in your way, whether it's transporting products, whatever it may be, frustration that you have as a farmer, we want to know what it is, and Jim will work with Mary Taylor, my lieutenant governor, to begin to take down the regulations that do not represent common sense. At the same time, Jim has been paralyzed in many ways, emotionally, by the problems at Grand Lake St. Mary's. This has had a tremendous impact on his psyche. And I've been down there and I've met with the groups. And I think we all know that agriculture has a responsibility when it comes to making sure that we're responsible as we conduct our business. I am not big on imposing rules and regulations on 100 people when we need to take one person out and put them in a stockade and throw some fruit and vegetables at them. Okay, I don't like the notion that when 99 people are honest and 99 people are responsible, we regulate them because we have one bad apple in the barrel. But it is going to be very, very important that as an agriculture family, an agriculture community, that at the same time we self-regulate, and when we see people that are not doing the right things, we're going to need to stand up and say, you know, we got to change it. And so we are committed to improving the situation at Grand Lake St. Mary's in a rational, common sense way, and Jim will lead that effort. But at the same time, I also would like to know from all of you, how can we help your business to be more successful? You know, you're farmers, but you're really entrepreneurs, and you're the truest sense of entrepreneurs. And when you get frustrated, I don't care what it is, you need to let us know the things that drive you crazy. Maybe you've heard that before, but I doubt it. Even if it involves taxes that are so complicated, it drives you crazy. And when I did my taxes over the last few years, I had to hire a CPA, then I had to hire a lawyer to make sure the CPA knew what they were doing so we were complying with the law. And then when I looked at the forms, I still didn't know if it was right. Sound familiar? Well, we need to get some control over this, and Jim will be involved in the regulatory reform. Secondly, why don't we find some new places to sell our goods around the world? Would you like that? Some increased trade opportunities? Because if we can have the ability to trade and sell more stuff, we create more jobs. You know, all this demagoguery out there about trade has got to be stopped before we shoot ourselves in the foot. That doesn't mean we ought to have lousy trade deals. I mean, there's nothing more infuriating than when somebody gets away with something and they're not playing by the same rules we're playing by. We want a level playing field, but we need to expand the opportunities overseas. And I assume you all I know you all use the internet. So why don't you just become pen pals with a farmer in another country? Let's be part of one team. Let you figure out how we can make some agreements and get some better deals around the world. And Jim will be involved in expanding trade. Not just rhetoric, we want you to think about this. Thirdly, we need more agriculture businesses moving into Ohio. Now, we were down at the Farm Science Review and saw a group of people who were involved in the seed business. Where are you located? Indiana. You know, I like Mitch Daniels, but I don't like Indiana taking anything from us. And the fact of the matter is, whether this is fertilizer companies or seed manufacturers, or whether it's people involved in the implement business, let's open up Ohio and get some of those businesses to move into this state. And many of you have connections because you do business with businesses that are not located in Ohio. Would you try to sell Ohio a little bit? Would you kind of ask them when you talk to them, you want my money? Could you think about bringing a little bit of dough into the state of Ohio? Because we'll work with them. We have to give them incentives. If it makes sense, we'll do it. But we want to expand agriculture. Why not make us number one in agriculture in many different ways? So part of Jim's job is going to be to work with you to figure out how we can find other companies that are located in other places who may want to come here, and we've got to make sure that we strengthen the ag-related jobs that we have in Ohio. We don't want to chase them out. We don't want them expanding into other places. So when you hear gripes or complaints, please let us know. Tech transfer. It's another area that I consider to be very important. We have agriculture schools. I mean, we have the Department of Agriculture at Ohio State. We have the College of Worcester. We have a lot of places where they do research. Giving professors a slap on the back by doing research and sticking it on a shelf that we find 150 years from now filled with dust saying, isn't that interesting, doesn't get it for me. I want to take the technology and the research that they do at these universities, and I want you to have access to it every single day. And I want us to think about the advanced products. And I understand, but we're not going to build agriculture on bioproducts today. But we need to get ahead of the game, right? I mean, if we spend our time talking so much about alternative energy, why don't we spend some time talking about alternative and advanced agriculture products? And I also think that third frontier money ought to be available to people who were involved in trying to create those advanced products. And maybe you should think about changing some of the lines of your businesses. And let us know. We will have a team of people that will be involved in technology transfer, and we want to make it easier for you to be successful. Outside forces. I don't like outside forces coming in here and telling a farmer how to do their business. Do you like that? You agree with me? Well, then how about some applause? We don't want these people coming in here telling us. Now, we have a sensitive issue. Jack tells me all the time, be careful, John. Jim says, be careful, John. Okay, that's fine, I'll be careful. But we want to get consensus. We want to get consensus. But we do not want to get behind the curve again. You do a great job. You love the land. You love the animal. Who wouldn't? What do you want to do? Destroy your own product so you can't be successful? So we have to prepare. And part of this is this education system, Jack, to get people out in these communities and let them know that the food on the shelves of the grocery store doesn't come from heaven. It did in the Bible, but that was a long time ago. Now it comes from you. So we want to work to be progressive. We now have this, this Livestock Standards Board. I don't know the name of all these boards, but you got this board. We're going to work aggressively. Jim has sat down with some of the people that the deal was struck with. We try to work it all out. I think he has more meetings to go. But we don't want creep. We don't want mission creep here into other areas of our state. This is Ohio. We love Ohio. We will take care of Ohio. One thing I told them in Washington yesterday is let my people go. Stop trying to impose your rules and your regulations and your one-size-fits-all mentality